Alright, welcome back, my lovelies, to Higurashi no Naku Koro Kai. So last time Shion flipped in the switch, and we knew that it was going to happen. We were just waiting for it. So I'm wearing my little bear from Danganronpa today, since we are crazy Shion. So this should be fun. Let's go. So I turned down the auto speed, so I'm hoping that maybe it'll be okay so I don't have to click all the time. I was having such a happy dream. Satoshi was in the dream. He was leading his normal everyday life. He was back on the baseball team. Iri and I acted normally around him because we knew that's how mature people should act. We welcomed him back as if he'd been here with us the whole time. Click auto. Come on, Satoshi! 3 strikes already? I'm cheering for you! Then Satoshi pouted as he mumbled. Doesn't work. I felt tears pouring down my face. Satoshi. Satoshi. The happy dream faded with my sobs. The harder I tried to focus on it, the faster it faded. Soon, it was all gone. I could see the bright morning sun through a crack in the curtains. I was in Mion's room at the Sonozaki house. When did I come back? I was crouching in the corner of the room and crying. A dream is a dream. I wished I hadn't woken up. But one must wake up from a dream. We all live in a world where there are no dreams. And that's why we always wake up. But I wasn't sure if I was the only one dreaming that dream, 'cause I felt like Satoshi was right beside me. Satoshi, did you come back? There was no reply. That was the rule. If it was Satoshi, I wish he'd smile at me just once. But Satoshi's presence faded away, as if he was never there to begin with. I heard the phone ring by the front door. Oh, that's right. I was the only one in the house now. I had to answer it. I got up to walk to the front door. I felt unsteady, so I put my hand on the wall to support myself. I hardly got any sleep. It was like I had a bad cold. The phone continued to ring. I probably didn't have to answer it, actually. But I was still half asleep, and all I could think of was answering the phone. Hello, Sonozaki residence. Sorry to call you so early, it's Kimiyoshi. Is your grandma still sleeping? It was Uncle Kimiyoshi. She is, yes. I guess she's still tired from yesterday. I think I'll let her sleep in. Yeah, you probably should. Mion, you're going to school, right? Can I leave a message with you? Sure. What is it? Let's see. There will be an emergency meeting regarding the incident from yesterday. It'll be at the Shrine's Assembly Hall starting at 5. Did you get that? Mm-hmm. I'll give her the message. As soon as I put down the phone, it rang again. Hello, Sonozaki residence. Good morning. Sorry to call so early. This is Kasai. Oh, sorry. Is this Mion-san? Good morning. Kasai. Good morning. Is Shion still there? I wasn't panicked, but I hesitated. I could tell him no, or I could play both Mion and Shion. Shion was washing her face just now. I'll get it for you. I decided to play 2 parts. I went back and forth down the hallway and picked up the phone again. Kasai? Morning. Good morning, Shion. Are you going to school today? Of course not. I feel miserable. I kind of expected that. By the way, how are you getting back to Okonomiya? I can have someone come pick you up. I think I can get a ride from Uncle Kimiyoshi or someone else. Don't worry, I'll figure something out. Your father told me to make sure you go to school often enough. I'd appreciate your cooperation. I'll go when I feel like it. By the way, Kasai, did you hear? What about? You know, the incident from last night? Oh, yes, I have. How truly horrifying. All the past victims were war criminals from the dam conflict, right? But it's different this year. What do you think? I don't really know. Kasai wasn't the type to talk too much. If it was about something complicated, he usually responded like that. Do you know why those two fell under the curse? No. I heard this last night. Supposedly, they snuck into the storehouse during the festival. They used a metal wire or something to unlock the door. Kasai went silent for a while. I held my breath while waiting to see how he responded. I expected to say he couldn't believe those people were chosen as victims just for sneaking into a storehouse. I expected him to say that it was just too unrealistic. Or see, that was stupid of them. Huh? Since Tomitake was an outsider, I bet he didn't know. I went along with Kasai, but I felt disturbed on the inside. Kasai didn't wonder why breaking into the ritual storehouse would justify their deaths. I'd known Kasai a long time, which is why I knew there was a heavy meaning to what he said. By the way, Kasai, actually, I did it too. Did you go in? Yeah. You went into the ritual storehouse, Shion? Yeah. Takano invited me. Takano, Tomitake, and remember Keiichi, who just moved here? Him and me to make 4 of us. I heard Kasai sighing heavily. Even though he didn't say a word, I could tell he was shocked. I'd never known him to act this way before. Shion, don't you remember what happened last year? How do you think you can take care of this? Last year it was 3 nails, so maybe 5 this year? Sorry. I wasn't trying to make light of it. I knew I shouldn't have done it. I regret it at least a little, but is it really a terrible thing to do? You are related to the Senozoke main family. Do you really think these people would understand? But I've been living in Okonomiya all my life. Since the Hag hated me, I've barely been to Hinamizawa. Besides, I was stuck at school. How would I know anything about that? I heard another sigh from Kasai. The sigh told me my excuses would be useless. Shion, I'm your ally. I want to support you as much as I can. But there are dangers even I can't protect you from. Besides, Sorry, Sis is here. I gotta go. See ya. Click. I interrupted Kasai and hung up. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear Kasai reject me. He who had been my ally all my life. Shit. Damn it. I could hear the sound of the cicadas. The sound made it feel like I was being cooked on a huge frying pan making a sizzling noise. I couldn't help feeling remorseful. Now I knew sneaking into the ritual storehouse wasn't a laughing matter. That is like some serious... She's not right. She's not wrong. Tobatake's not even from Hinamizawa. How the fuck would he know that? And who would think that it would be like so serious, you know? That's how crazy this town is and why they really should die. And I'm okay with the damn killing them all. Except for Keiichi, who's also not from Hinamizawa. And I like Rika too. But I really didn't know it at the time. What if you're just like a tourist? You know, you're just a tourist, you stopped by for a good time, you heard about this festival, and then, I don't know, like you accidentally walk into like the wrong place and they're like, oh, you shouldn't have walked in there. And you're like, I'm just a tourist, how the hell am I supposed to know? And then they kill you for it. But I really didn't know it at the time. Sure, the door was locked, so they didn't want anyone to go in. Then why did they change the lock? What did they say? I think it was Rika-chama that said that the previous lock was too heavy for her. So she had it changed to that cheap one. I wonder if Rika was trying to figure out, like, if Rika knows, this is my belief, if Rika knows that it's Takano that kills her, then maybe she changed it to that lock to make it easy for Takano to get in so that then Takano would be killed before she could kill her. But then everything went to shit with her other friends, so then she reset it anyway. Or she died when she came to confront Shion, so then it reset anyway. That was how Takano broke in. If the heavy lock was still there, this wouldn't have happened. I slapped my own forehead. Then I took a deep breath. I had to calm down. What was the point of fussing now? I'd already passed the point of no return. There was no use thinking otherwise. The hag was already dead. Even if she wasn't, she was now at the bottom of a well. Therefore, it was already past where I could just cut my fingers off in an apology. I felt so unstable. I'd walked on the fence around the swings at the park before as if I was walking on a tightrope. It was fun, because even if I fell, it was only a short distance. But it wouldn't have been fun if it were really high. At that very moment, I was in fact already on a tightrope that was a lot higher than the fence of the park. As soon as I took a step, the rope behind me would vanish. I couldn't step back because there was nothing behind me. That was, in short, the current situation I found myself in. Just standing in one spot was all I could do. Even if I never took another step, I'd fall if I wasn't careful. If I forced myself to walk, the danger would only increase. But if I didn't move, I would fall. I couldn't see what was ahead of me. There was no guarantee that I'd ever find firm ground. But if I stopped, there was only one fate waiting for me. I have to move. If staying here guaranteed death, then I'd rather try to walk, even if I die as a result. Even if there was a dead end ahead of me, at least I tried. In general, I try to be optimistic. I could accept my life not lasting particularly long, but I wouldn't go easily. I'd struggle as much as damn possible. I'd already killed the hag. For that, there could be no other punishment than death. I knew my life would end soon. In other words, I was actually already dead. A dead person has nothing to lose. That means I can only go on the offensive. I clenched my fists tightly as I muttered. Even if I had to die, I wouldn't die easily. This was my chance to avenge Satoshi. Who did it? For what purpose? And why? I was going to investigate. I was going to question. I was going to expose. I was going to settle the score. I'd carry out the plan I came up with yesterday. I could hide the hag's death somehow. All I'd have to say is she hadn't been feeling well since Wananagashi. I could do it all while pretending to be Mion. Just in case our friends at school became suspicious, maybe I'd start telling them I hadn't been feeling well either. In fact, I did feel groggy from my lack of sleep. When I became Mion, Shion would automatically disappear. I'd already told Kasai I snuck into the shrine, so he'd probably end up telling people that I was demoned away due to the curse. The last person I'd have to think about was the fourth one who snuck into the ritual storehouse, Keiichi Maibara. Maybe I can use him as bait to lure out the enemy. Sorry, Kay, you're going to be my bait. I felt a little bad since I was starting to like him. With all that figured out, let's go to school. I'd gone to school as Mion before, so I knew how things worked. It was almost time to leave. Michan! You're late! Huh? You waited? You should have just gone ahead. Hey, Mion, your face is red. You're breathing heavily, too. Me? Are you not feeling well? Reina put her hand on my forehead. Reina, your hand is pretty cold. Me, you're a little warm. It's no big deal. Give it half a day, I'll be fit as a fiddle. Are you really okay? You don't have to push yourself, you know. What's this? Kay, are you worried about me? That's nice of you. I'd always thought he was a goofball, so I was a little surprised. I thought they'd tease me, but they didn't. I just think you shouldn't push yourself so hard. We can tell the teacher you had to take the day off. I'm fine. I took some medicine. I think it's already working. All right, then, let's go. Don't overdo it, but of course there's the time. We need to run or we won't make it. This morning got pretty thrilling. Maybe it's what I just need to shake out this sluggishness. Let's run. President, if you would. Oh, everyone, stand up. I'd made the same mistake before. I never learned, do I? Do you think Mia's doing okay? She doesn't look good. Oh, really? How unfortunate. It was a good idea to make them believe I was sick. Even if I did things differently from Mion, I had an excuse. Well, you know, girls have those days when they just don't feel well. I don't have those days. Ipa. Mion's friends kept each other occupied and left me alone. Keiichi Maibara. He might suddenly disappear one day. I couldn't let that happen. I'm so confused about her feelings about Keiichi because she's like, oh no, she just doesn't want him to disappear because then she'll disappear. Right. Oh, okay. I was gonna say, that would be like letting a fish take the bait and swim away while I was fast asleep with a fishing pole. I couldn't miss the moment the enemy took a bite. I had to be very careful. But it was impossible to keep my eyes on him 24 hours a day. Spying on him at school like this wasn't good enough. Should I have a meet with Shion and let her explain he's in danger? Maybe we could set up a strategy together. I didn't think Keiichi realized how serious a crime it was to step in the ritual storehouse. I hadn't, after all. Since last year, all the incidents that related to the curse had probably been investigated in secret. People involved with the 3 families would know about the incident from last night, but Keiichi shouldn't know anything. If he knew where he stood now, he'd be more cautious too. That should make him aware of his surroundings, and maybe he would notice if anything odd took place. The teacher caught him sleeping, so she ordered him to go wash his face. He walked out into the hallway. I was sleepy too. That makes sense. Remember how Keiichi felt like Mion knew what he did and was like getting paranoid about it? It's because it was Shion. I knew that Shion had switched with Mion, but I didn't know exactly when. And now that I know that it's this early, it's so interesting because... Do you guys remember that Keiichi, like, Mion came to talk to him and, like... He was like, there's no way she would know. How would she know? You know? But now it makes sense. I had to be alert, but I couldn't clear my mind due to my lack of sleep. I decided to go home early. Since I pretended to be sick since morning, my request was approved. As I exited the building, I saw Keiichi watching his face. I thought you'd be out here. It feels better outside, huh? Huh? Mion? Ugh. No cutting class now. It looked like it felt refreshing for him to wash his face with cold water. I washed my face too, but it didn't feel as good as it looked. Mion, how's your cold doing? You're asleep because of the medicine, not from lack of sleep, yeah? Actually, this is a secret. But after the festival yesterday, I got wrapped up in the party my relatives were having. And, well, I had a bit. I pretended to drink with an invisible glass. Are you hungover? How old are you? Keiichi exaggerated his reaction, but he still seemed worried. All right, later. I'm going back. Be careful on your way home. Don't wobble into a sewer or brook, got it? Keiichi turned around to go back to the classroom. Oh, one more thing, Kei. I stopped Keiichi. He, in response, turned around. What's up? So I never came up with a voice for Keiichi since I just used my normal voice when I was narrating him. So we're just going to stick with my normal voice. This may sound weird, but don't think too hard about it. Well, depends on what it is. Last night, near the end of the festival, did you see Tomatake or Takano anywhere? I noticed Keiichi's body tense up. His reaction proved that he felt guilty about sneaking into the storehouse. He was frightened Mion Sonozaki might know about it. I guess this was enough to give him a certain impression of Mion Sonozaki. You know Tomatake and Takano, don't you? You remember, Kei, when the four of you were talking during setup the day before? I could clearly see how dismayed he felt. He was trying to come up with an excuse. I can't remember. I might have seen them, or not. He was both a bad liar and a bad actor. He wasn't really that intelligent at all. Well, that would make him a suitable friend for Mion. He was just a brat, unlike Satoshi. Although when it came to lying and acting, Satoshi was about the same level. Maybe Keiichi should be credited for at least trying to tell a lie. Satoshi wouldn't have even said a thing. I didn't need to be thinking about him right now. I see. Then, one more question. On the same night, did you see Shion? This was a very mean question. Keiichi was perplexed, as I'd expected. Didn't you ask me that yesterday? I think I told you I wasn't sure if I had or not. Huh? I'd asked him that yesterday? He must have meant that Mion asked him that question. In other words, she asked him that after he left the storehouse and got back together with his friends. Damn you, Mion. When I asked her, she said she had no idea we went in there. Shit. Did you? I guess I thought I'd just get a different answer if I asked you again. Why are you so intent on knowing if I did or not? He was getting defensive. Keiichi couldn't hide his panic as he flared up at me. It's not important. It's just there are some people who are speaking poorly of Tomatake, Takano, Shion, and you, Kei. I didn't really hear what they were saying, though. Keiichi was really perplexed now. This wasn't fun at all, but it could still be an interesting game. I don't believe you were doing something bad. I just wanted to ask a bit about it, so I did. Sorry for making you uncomfortable, okay? I made sure Keiichi felt a sense of crisis, then left. Nobody can tell us apart. We're Mion and Shion. Perfect twins. I don't know. I always call Keiichi stupid all the time, but comparing him to Satoshi, I'll take him any day. Keiichi literally said, "Go ahead and kill me," to his friend, who he thought was Mion, to validate her. Which is idiotic and stupid. But when I returned to the Sonozaki's house, I saw a woman with an apron on. It was a housekeeper. Her name was Miko-san. The hag had a few housekeepers who took care of the chores around the house. Oh, Mion, I'm glad you're here. Hey, Shimiko, can I help you? Today was her turn to come help at the house. She'd arrived, but the gate was locked and she couldn't get in. She called, but there was no answer, so she had to just been standing there not knowing what to do. Something must have happened to Granny at the festival. She'd been in an evil mood ever since last night. Ah, I see. Shimiko tried to remember if she had done something wrong. She is ignoring you. She's just sleeping. She was up very late, so I bet she can't wake up yet. You know how she is, right? When she gets into this mood, it'll take her a long time to be happy again. Oh, yes, that is too bad. I think it might be better that you don't show up for a while. Even if you don't mean to upset her, Granny might take it the wrong way. Just let me take care of it. I see. Are you sure? I'm very grateful, though. Sorry to make you do this, but could you let the other housekeepers know that they don't need to come for a while either? When Granny feels better, I'll give you a call. So let's just leave her alone for now. Shimiko bowed, then left on her bicycle. Anyone who had ever experienced Granny's wrath would understand. I headed into Mion's room, set her alarm clock for 2 p.m. and crawled into her bed. I needed to recover quickly. I had to be sharp, calm, and cool-headed. School should be out by 2. Maybe I'd get in touch with Keiichi. I'd have to call him. There would also be the staff meeting at the Furude Shrine Assembly Hall in the evening. All the leaders of the 3 families, their relatives, and the town council members would gather at this meeting. They were all authority figures in Hinamizawa. Oh, I really hope it actually shows the meeting. I'd be attending in place of the hag, who was sick. I'd worry about the rest when I got there. People shouldn't notice that Mion and the hag were missing for a long time. I didn't need to worry, as I had plenty of time. I checked the alarm once more, then fell asleep as if someone switched me off. Hello? Ah, this is Sonozaki. Well, the younger one. Hello? Do you have time to talk right now? Shion? I thought you'd be sleeping in today with the hangover, same as Mion. What? My sis had a hangover? That's so like her. Keiichi had no idea that Mion he saw earlier was actually me. He didn't notice when we talked in person, so there's no way he'd notice on the phone. I never knew that playing 2 roles would be so much fun. To feel such enjoyment in this game of life or death. Maybe I was getting used to the situation. Or maybe my senses had gone numb. Oops, sorry. My parents are waiting for an important call, so I can't... Oh, that's Keiichi. I can't talk too long. What do you need? There's something I wanted to talk about, but if we can't talk long, I guess that's that. Then how about we meet in person? If you could show me where the library is too, that'd be great. You mean the public library near the station? Yes, that's fine. I go past there on my way to work anyway. We decided to meet in Okonomiya. It wasn't easy to get there from Hinamizawa, but I had to hurry. I couldn't run into Keiichi as he was heading there himself. I recalled the key to the hag's motorcycle was in her secret drawer. She has a motorcycle? The hag usually got driven around for public events, but when she had her own errand, she rode her motorcycle. Keiichi, I assumed, was going to ride his bicycle. I'd try to get there before he did. Keiichi arrived quite a bit later than me. Motorcycles are faster after all. There were hardly any traffic lights to worry about on the way here either. Well, Mion never keeps her appointments. I mean, honestly. Making my sister for the standard for everything will get you in trouble. You're a little unsteady. You were drinking last night too, weren't you? Don't try to hide it. You definitely went home from school early. Too bad. I've been home all day from the beginning. I'm smarter than my sister after all. Hey now. I don't think you can call playing hooky smarter. You should finish your errand first. We don't have that much time. We're going to the library, right? Yeah, thanks. My mom had to return some books by today. Is the library far? Nope, it's right nearby. I meant it when I said we didn't have much time. I had to hurry a little. I was just going to talk to her on the phone, but I ended up coming all the way to Okonomiya. After our talks, Keiichi would slowly head back to Hinamizawa. I'd have to rush back there while making sure I didn't run into him. Otherwise, I couldn't make it in time for the meeting. Maybe I could be a little late, but since I needed to hear everything they were going to discuss, I didn't want to be. This was the Shibone Public Library. It was sizable, filled with a collection of moldy, smelly books. But they did have air conditioning, and it was quiet. It was the perfect place for when you wanted to be alone. After Satoshi disappeared last year, I came here to think about various things. This was where I first met Takano. I didn't want to run into her with Keiichi in tow. But then I remembered she was dead. The first floor of the building was occupied by government offices. The library itself was on the second floor, so we had to walk up a huge staircase to get there. I tasted cool air on my skin as soon as I walked to the automated door. Unlike outside, it was very quiet in here. The room temperature was both comfortable and suitable for books. I could smell the scent of old pages. All libraries smell the same. Keiichi walked up to the turntable after he said so. Because it was a weekday, there was hardly anyone around. It really was very quiet. I was going to chat about some ordinary things and then move on to the main subject. After Keiichi returned the books, I invited him to the intersection of the library. Keiichi knew Mion well, but he didn't know me at all. He showed an interest in our life story. This is exactly where Takano told me about the true history of Hinamizawa a year ago. I was about to tell Keiichi about things that were very similar. Did God have a sense of irony? Now that you mention it, that toy store looked like it was managed by relatives as well. Does that mean they operate Angel Mort too? I told him the reason why Sonozaki family was so powerful in this area. I assumed that Keiichi came from the city. There was a good chance he couldn't even begin to understand how one old family could literally control an entire area. Unless I explained to him how powerful the Sonozaki family was, he wouldn't understand what kind of danger was barreling towards him. The family is particularly strong in finance and real estate. Even a lot of the members of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry have their last name Sonozaki or their relatives. There are Sonozakis in the City Council and Prefectural Assembly too, since they have the Okonomiya area giving them strong electoral support. Wait a minute. This is all escalating pretty quickly. Your relatives operate shops in downtown Okonomiya, and they're especially strong in finance and real estate? On top of that, a lot of people in the Chamber of Commerce and Industry are relatives, and there are even some elected to local offices? Keiichi counted with his fingers. He was clearly surprised to hear all that about the Sonosaki family. It seemed he was flexible enough to accept even something that sounded outrageous to him. He was starting to understand things, although slowly. The way he viewed Shion Sonozaki was changing little by little too. That should be enough background information. Now I could go on to explain about Mion as the successor. Then I'd change the subject, like Takano did with me. I'd go on to talk about the curse of Oyashiro-sama and the series of deaths. So then, the Sonozaki family, it's pretty famous in this area? Yep, crazy, ain't it? A fat man with a cigarette suddenly cut into our conversation. Oishi? Why was he here? Hello, good afternoon. Are you on a date today? Ah, what I would give to be young again. If you thought we were on a date, then why are you bothering us, Oishi? Oh, what timing. It couldn't be coincidence. I knew this man too well. He was crafty, sly, and clever. His presence here just can't be a coincidence. Did he see us somewhere in town and follow us? But why? Did he need something from me, Keiichi? Perhaps both of us? From what I could guess, I didn't think it was me that he wanted something from. It was almost like he was trying to keep Keiichi away from me. Oishi was aware I gave false testimony to protect Satoshi last year. Maybe he didn't think he could talk to Keiichi if I was around. Why did Oishi need to talk to him? It must be about the incident from yesterday. I'm sure there are plenty of plainclothes officers at the festival, so they had to have seen who was with the victims. In other words, Keiichi and me. But Oishi knew I was hard to deal with. That's why he was focusing on Keiichi at the present. Why did he have to show up at a time like this? Mabar-san, right? You're one tough guy. Two-timing the Sonozaki sisters, are you? No, I'm not two-timing anyone. Keiichi looked at me, hoping for assistance. He blushed. The way he panicked reminded me of Satoshi. That aside, this wasn't going well. Oishi even might start talking about my relationship with Satoshi. I didn't want him to, nor did I want Keiichi to have any preconceptions. Oishi took a quick glance at me. His eyes told me something. He was purposely talking about things I'd rather not. He was basically telling me to leave, or he'd continue on to do something that was worse than what they were currently talking about. He didn't use words, but his eyes clearly communicated that anyway. Damn that big fat weasel. I'm sorry, Kay. I really do need to get to my job. Huh? Oh, you do? I realized I wouldn't achieve anything like this, even if I stayed longer, so I used my part-time job as an excuse to leave. She looked at me and grinned. Damn it. He won today, but I will win next time. Wait, didn't you have something to talk about today, Shion? Yeah, I'll see you later. Oh, I'll give you a call after I'm done. It'll be okay to call at night, right? Yeah, probably okay. Then I'll talk to you later. Bye! The hag's motorcycle had become my primary means of transportation. My next stop was the staff meeting at the Furude Shrine Assembly Hall. It was easy to imagine how a normal meeting would play out if we were just celebrating the end of the Watanagashi. But today's last staff meeting was likely going to be as strained as the Sonozaki's family councils. Yep. This staff meeting was going to deal with the heart of Hinamizawa. I couldn't let my guard down. even for a moment. I rested a while at the house, then left for the meeting. I walked up the long stairs to the Furude shrine. At the top, I saw some elderly men smoking in front of the hall. Since they had met a long time ago, it had been made into a non-smoking area. Is that Mion-chan? The head of the Kimiyoshi family, Uncle Kimiyoshi, noticed me and waved. He must not have expected Mion to come alone. Normally, it would have been either the hag by herself or Mion tagging along as an assistant. Granny's been in a terrible mood since the incident last night. She's been staying in bed and won't even let me get near her. They all understood how troublesome she was when she was in a bad mood. They smiled bitterly in sympathy. So, you're here as the Sonozaki family representative then? Has Oryo told you anything? Sort of. What did he mean, has Oryo told you anything? That line by itself really didn't explain much. The staff meeting was usually led by the mayor, the head of the Kimiyoshi family, and he'd asked me, as the substitute for the Sonozaki family head, if I'd heard anything from her. I then realized who was supposed to lead today's staff meeting. No, Kimiyoshi-san, do I really have to lead the meeting today? According to the ranking order at the family councils, any substitute for the Sonozaki family head is above the Kimiyoshi family head. In other words, I'd have to lead today's meeting. There was no way I could do that. Don't worry, I'll do it. You can just take a seat, Mion. If there's something you've heard from Oyo-san, let us know, okay? Kimiyoshi, why don't we get started? Everyone's here now. The smokers put out their cigarettes and went back into the hall. The tables were set in a horseshoe shape, and I was told to sit next to the chair reserved for the chief. The seat opposite mine was empty. Considering its location, it was probably for the Furude family head, Rika. But somebody had said earlier that everyone was here. Either Rika-chama had called an absence, or the empty seat was just a formality. Knowing the subject of the meeting, I don't think that the Furude family head would even want to attend. Even if Rika-chama actually attended, she wouldn't be able to say anything. All she'd usually do at the Sonozaki family councils was draw pictures on a notepad. She'd probably end up drawing pictures at this meeting too. Besides, they probably didn't want her to hear anything unpleasant. In this way, the empty Furude family seat was easily explained. When everyone was seated, the head of the Women's Association served tea. She gave me an evil look, trying to tell me to help me out. So I got up and did so. After that, everyone fell quiet and the secretary stood up. Everyone, thank you for coming today on such a short notice despite your busy schedules. Let's start with a few words from the mayor. Go ahead, please. Please excuse me for staying seated. Ken, you stay seated too. Thank you for all coming today. Also, you all did a great job with the Water Nagashi yesterday. The festival was a great success as usual. There were not any mishaps. Lots of villagers came, and I believe it went great on the whole. Let me see, how many people? According to the Imperial General Headquarters report, approximately 5,000 people showed up. Everyone laughed except me. I hope we'll continue to work together to carry on this tradition. I appreciate your cooperation. An applause with only 8 people doesn't sound so great. All right, let us move on to today's proceedings. Kimiyoshi will lead the meeting today. Please applaud if you approve. Thank you. Then, with your approval, Mayor Kimiyoshi will take over. Please go ahead. Thank you, Ken. Oh, it's a boy. Let's start. Sorry, could you close the curtains? Everyone closed the curtains nearest them. The sun was still up, but with all the curtains closed, the room became very dark. The village chief explained the details of the incident, as well as what went on with the police. A police vehicle discovered Tomatake's body on its way back to Okonomiya last night. Oishi's special curse unit was standing by, expecting something to happen for the 5th time, so they responded quickly. Since Tomatake and Takano were rarely apart, Oishi got in touch with the neighboring prefectural police departments and asked them to look for her. As a result, they found the burned body of a woman in the Gifu prefecture, and the body was identified as Mion Takano. Considering the circumstances, the police ended up labeling the incident as the 5th of the ongoing mysterious deaths. When he finished, there was dead silence. I watched to see who would speak first. Nobody said a thing. And then I noticed Kimiyoshi looking at me. This was where the head of the Sonozaki family would speak. Mion, has Oreo said anything about this whole thing? Everyone looked in my direction. I was sure they could see the hag in me. I'm Mion Sonozaki, acting head of the Sonozaki family. I'm here in place of Oyo, the current head. Thank you for having me. I became Mion. I tried to become as cold and unfeeling as the Mion I witnessed a year ago. That cold version of Mion was inside of me. That was me. I was her. Unfortunately, the curse of Oyashiro-sama has come to pass for the 5th time. This is deeply regretful. Everyone was held captive by my words. I wasn't a little girl anymore. The hag was speaking through my mouth. They all heard me and trembled in fear. Does anyone know why the curse happened again this year? After my question, everyone whispered to each other. I will tell you. It was because they broke the rule of the ritual storehouse and desecrated the sacred ground within. How dare they! A few elderly men got up and yelled. The fools! I can't believe this! They deserve to be killed. Oyashiro, please calm your anger! Oh my, how did that happen? Oyashiro-sama, this is why we hate outsiders. They just don't think. They're too stupid. They got what they deserved. It was their own damn fault. Fuck. The angry old men yelled as they trembled in fear. Their sudden change scared me more than a little. Even Uncle Kimiyoshi, who is usually so gentle and sweet, became like a demon of war, cursing those who broke the rule of the ritual storehouse. It had become like a raging ocean inside the assembly hall. Their yells spun about like a whirlpool. They roared, crashed, howled. Even while doing nothing but watch, I could feel myself turning pale. Mion threatened me yesterday, and Kasai had been shocked this morning. What I saw before me was similar to that. Even the sweet and gentle Uncle Kimiyoshi was saying they deserved to die. I was fearful of the sudden change in those elderly men. More than anything, the fact that they all believed that people who deserved to die for trespassing is what terrified me. It wasn't just that, of course. The real thing I was scared of was that I was one of the people they wanted dead. In other words, it was almost like they were telling me to die of the curse. If they were to find out I snuck into the ritual storehouse, it was very possible they would strangle me on the spot. Actually, they might not kill me that easily. By then, I was certain. The people in this room were true believers in Oyashiro-sama, just like the hag. Except for, I'm pretty sure that Oyashiro-sama, who we know as Rika, doesn't want any of what they're doing. they wouldn't hesitate to murder whoever made him angry on his behalf. Even if they didn't carry out the killing themselves, they would pretend they didn't see anything. Not even if my head was cut off right in front of them. Everyone here would act in collusion and say I never attended today. If they all testified that they waited and I didn't show, I'd be demoned away. It would be far too easy for them to erase someone and have them disappear. There was no mistake. The people linking the hag and the curse were definitely here at this meeting. I continued speaking. I was Mion Sonozaki. I was on the side responsible for the curse. Therefore, at that moment, I didn't need to worry about anything. Nobody could tell the difference between Mion and me. That's what would keep me safe. Please be silent. Hey, quiet down. Uncle Kimiyoshi helped me to quiet everyone, but his tone was violent. He really scared me. Everyone gradually became silent. In fact, it was 4 people who snuck into the storehouse. 2 more remain. People once more became restless upon hearing that. But Uncle Kimiyoshi yelled at them, and they settled down. Tomitake and Takano were old enough to be made responsible for their own poor judgment. As a result, the curse of Oyashiro fell upon them immediately. But the other 2 were simply children. The curse has yet to fall upon them. But there will be some kind of punishment. Everyone stayed quiet that time. They all turned genuinely pale, trying not to miss a word I said. After all, they were all thinking the kids I mentioned could be their own relatives or even grandchildren. They wanted to know who they were, to put their minds at ease. Why would she say the real people? Why wouldn't she name, like, one of their grandchildren? The other 2 who snuck in were Shion Sonozaki and Keiichi Maibara. I could feel the air getting dry. It was so dry, it felt like it was going to start making a crackling noise. Shion Sonozaki has already... I couldn't even hear the old people breathe. I took a peek at Uncle Kimiyoshi, who was sitting next to me. He'd adored Shion as if she were his own granddaughter, but she had been demoned away. I wanted to see how distressed and sad he'd look. And when I saw his face, I felt a sensation on my back as if my skin itself was making a cracking noise. He didn't even have an expression. Uncle Kimiyoshi adored me. I loved him, and I thought he loved me too. That was why I was expected him to be saddened after learning I met with such a cruel fate. What was I thinking? The memory of his warm smile shattered inside of me. There was no way of describing the fear I experienced in that moment. In mere words, he had suddenly changed into someone I didn't even recognize. Uncle Kimiyoshi noticed me looking at him and spoke. What about Keiichi? Not yet. I had to take a deep breath to regain my composure. All 4 who snuck in will suffer the curse of Oyashiro-sama. Keiichi Maibara is no exception. Chilling looks, cruel looks, emotionless looks, shrewd looks, and the looks of people who are about to snap. I could feel the demons chewing my words while they stared at me with their sharp eyes. I could see some of them sticking out their snake-like tongues. I could see flames in some of their eyes. They were memorizing the names of the intruder the curse has yet to fall upon. And so the meeting went on. We were told not to tell the police too much, to report what they asked us, and to hold another meeting whenever something of significance happened. If something unexpected took place, we were to get in touch with either the head of the Kimiyoshi family or the head of the Sonozaki family for instructions on what to do. With those closing remarks, the meeting was over. I mean, it kind of sounds like it's entirely the Sonozakis who decide and do it because, like, they all just accepted that. It was already getting dark outside. Being in a valley surrounded by mountains, once the sun went down in Hinamizawa, it got dark quickly. Even if it was hot during the day, it'd cool down at night. The elderly people said goodbye to each other and left on their bicycles, motorcycles, or in their cars. Uncle Kimiyoshi waved them goodbye and started to head home himself. I called out to him, "Kimiyoshi-san, do you have plans after this?" I called him Kimiyoshi-san instead of uncle. He stopped. "No, I don't have anything." "Can you stop at my house?" "Does Oryo want to see me?" "Yes. She wants to talk with you about something in person." "All right, I'll stop by." Uncle Kimiyoshi arrived at the Sonozaki house. He often came to this house to have secret meetings with the hag, so he wasn't suspicious at all. I invited Uncle Kimiyoshi into the living room. I served him a cup of tea and told him I was going to fetch the hag. I left the room and killed some time down the hallway. "Granny will be here after she gets dressed. She might take a little while." "Oh, that's okay. I'll just wait." Uncle Kimiyoshi relaxed as he sipped his cup of tea. I sat next to him. "I think she wants to talk to you about Shion." I mentioned my name and watched for his reaction. Uncle Kimiyoshi looked so grim. I couldn't even tell if he heard me. I decided to continue speaking until he reacted in some way. "You remember the incident from last year with Shion, yes? She became friendly with the people of the Hojo family. She was forgiven after ripping out her nails, wasn't she?" "Yes, 3 nails." Uncle Kimiyoshi folded his arms and thought for a while. "Where is Shion now?" "In the basement." "How is she?" Uncle Kimiyoshi sounded worried. When I heard that, I felt relieved that Uncle Kimiyoshi was on my side. His anger in the assembly hall was just an act. "She's been crying. Mion. Tell me, what is Oryo going to do with her?" "She hasn't told me any details. As you know, Granny becomes awfully quiet when she's truly furious." "Going into the ritual storehouse, huh?" "Furthermore, it's her own granddaughter. That's a tough decision to make." Uncle Kimiyoshi thought that the hag must be unsure of what to do with Shion. What do you think? What do you think will happen to Shion?" "Well, I'm sure it'll be far more than just 3 nails this time. Knowing how Oryo is, she won't hold back because it's her granddaughter. Actually, she might be even more harsh considering they're related." "Yes, she did go into the ritual storehouse. That's not something that can be forgiven so easily." "Indeed. It's sacred after all. But in a way, maybe it's not fair to Shion. She has been away from Hinamizawa, as you know. I'm sure she knew she wasn't supposed to trespass, but maybe she didn't know how forbidden it was." "Yeah, that's true. Poor Shion. Other than the tattoo on my back, how would you tell the difference between Shion and me? There isn't one. There's no point in distinguishing between Mion and Shion in the first place. Twins are proof of bad luck. One should be eliminated as soon as they are born. Such is the family precept. The hag actually put her hands around my neck right after I came out. That's how the story went, at least. In the end, the hag didn't kill me, but instead pretended I didn't exist. She forced herself to call one of us Mion, and the other Shion. She adored Mion and hated Shion. My sister and I never understood why we had to go through that. We didn't care who was Mion or Shion. So one day we came up with an idea. We decided to share the joy Mion experienced and the sadness Shion experienced. We often switched places. We were both Mion, and at the same time we were both Shion. Adults around us tried to put us in different clothes, style our hair differently so they could tell us apart. That was nonsense. No matter what they did to us, all we had to do was switch places, and nobody could tell us. Finally, they decided that we switched places because we were always together. On that day, Shion got to go to an amusement park. Since then, we've been separated. Mion. I can't even imagine what will happen to Shion. Whatever it is Granny decides to do, I'm not in a position to say anything about it. She doesn't listen to her relatives. You're right. That's something Oreo needs to work on. If Shion wasn't Shion, she would have been dead a long time ago. I can't even begin to imagine what kind of punishment might be equal to death. Even if she isn't killed, she'll probably never see the light of day again. In other words, she'll be demoned away. Mion. Does Shion regret what she did? Yes. In response, Kimiyoshi tapped at my shoulder and then slapped his own chest. He smiled reliably. Don't worry. If Shion feels bad about what she's done, she won't be demoned away. Leave it to me. Really? I'm sure Oreo would be furious to hear me say anything, but I won't give up. I'll explain to her that Shion regrets what she has done, and I'll beg for her forgiveness. Tears began to fall from my eyes. I knew it. Uncle Kimiyoshi was my ally after all. He said he would forgive Shion. He was my ally. I was so very happy. Are you sure? Are you sure she won't be demoned away like Satoshi last year? Uncle Kimiyoshi smiled reliably again and told me. He was a brat of the Hojo family. This is Shion of the Sonozaki we're talking about. Of course she'll be forgiven. Huh? A brat of the Hojo family? Are you talking about Satoshi? Last year's victim? Those Hojo people. They were traitors who tried to sell out the whole village. Of course he got demoned away. He was a Hojo after all. Huh? The Hojo people should all be cursed. Only people like them get demoned away. Shion will be okay. It won't happen to someone like her. Uncle, didn't Shion take care of that for Satoshi last year? Wasn't he supposed to be forgiven? Take care of that? What do you mean? Remember? 3 nails. She removed 3 of her nails. Kasai, Uncle Yoshiro, Satoshi. 3 people. She removed 3 for 3 people. Huh? So that's why it was 3 nails, huh? What? Wasn't that the significance of those 3 nails? Yeah, you're right. There were 3 people involved, hence the 3 nails. I heard that too, but... But what? Kasai, Yoshiro, and Shion. That makes 3. Yeah, I knew that. What? 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 I endured excruciating pain. The first my left pinky, then the ring, and then the middle. People held me down so I couldn't move. But I endured. I had to endure 3 nails. I didn't know which nail was for Satoshi. If my middle was for Satoshi, I'd have to endure until the middle finger was done so that Satoshi would be forgiven. That was why I endured. Even Mion said afterwards, everything was forgiven. Huh? Huh? What? Mion, didn't you say Satoshi was forgiven? Didn't you? That's what I heard. I think that's what I heard. Where did I? Huh? What? I felt the air move. There shouldn't have been a breeze in that room, but I felt it anyway. The cool air stroked the back of my neck. That was when my true self stood right behind me and nodded. Although there was no wind, my hair billowed. The burning wickedness buried deep inside my eyes became visible. Why do you think Satoshi got demoned away? Huh? Satoshi's parents did, in fact, try to sell the village. They deserved the curse. But Satoshi was simply their son. What has he done? Huh? Mion? I'm asking you what crime Satoshi committed. You said earlier he deserved to become demoned away because he was born of the Hojo family. What has he done to deserve being demoned away? Kimiyoshi didn't know what to say to the sudden question. He seemed dismayed. I didn't hear her say it, but I know. It was Oryo Sonozaki's decision. Oh, sorry. Wrong person. She decided the curse that would fall upon all the Hojos. Wait, Mion, that's not true. Didn't she decide that? No, she didn't. The curse falling upon the Hojo family. I do remember talking about something, but we never decided that. Nobody did. Then why did you say because he was one of the Hojos earlier? Sorry, Mion. That was... I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. That's just it. Anything that happens to the Hojo family is the curse. As long as someone has the Hojo name, no one cares what happens to that person. That idea has spread like a virus among the villagers. It didn't matter if Satoshi did anything or not. Because he was a Hojo, he was filthy. That infection of idea is the entire problem. And you all believed in that idea. You couldn't even think straight anymore. I can't forgive you. I can't let someone like you exist. People like you cornered him and his family. Poor Satoshi. What has he done? He hasn't done anything. He was a Hojo, that all. What kind of crime is that? Why did the curse fall upon him? What crime has he committed? Kimiyoshi's upper body bent backward and fell onto the floor. That was that. I put my stun gun back into my pocket. How is she carrying all these people? I'm just like, she's... Sorry, Shion. What was it you said? Apparently Takano and Tamataki died last night. Takano was found burned to death. Tamataki, well, it looked like suicide. I found out this morning. I heard from my father talking to a relative on the phone about it. As I thought, Keiichi didn't know anything about what happened after the festival last night. Of course it's not getting reported by the media. That's how it was in the past, too. Keiichi insisted that unless he heard about it on the news, it couldn't be real. But the investigations into the series of mysterious deaths are now done in secret. Of course you didn't hear it on the news. I hear the mayor and several important politicians from the Sonozaki family put all the pressure they could on the police. Then you mean their deaths are going to be dealt with in total secrecy? That's how it is. Of course, the police are still investigating. That's being performed in secret too. Though, so I hear the investigation itself is very restricted in what it can and can't do. You could say they're interfering with the police investigation. can't believe this. People died, and yet they're dealing with everything in secret. If we break it down further, it means that no matter who dies on the night of the Wanagashi, it won't go public. That's the biggest pile of bullshit I've ever heard. Kay, remember how I said before that villagers could be the ones carrying out Oyashiro-sama's curse? That's what I mean. At some point, a tradition was created here in Hinamizawa, where every year you're allowed to kill someone on the night of the Wanagashi. Yes, that's the truth about the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa, also known as Oyashiro-sama's curse. On the day of the Wanagashi, 2 people will be killed. The perpetrators are using the curse of Oyashiro-sama as an excuse to kill one victim and make another disappear. That's why the curse of Oyashiro has to take place. That's what happens in Hinamizawa, and that's what happens with the curse. What Kimiyoshi said is all true. Infecting everyone with the idea that the enemy from the damn conflict deserved to die was the root of all this. That was the system of vague commands used in the Sonozaki family, created by its head Oryo. One thing that must be mentioned about the command system is that the person giving the orders and the one executing them didn't need to interact in any way. Though Oryo was the commander, she never gave actual orders. She only had to expect something to happen. Every single one of the family council members around her would want that to satisfy that expectation if given the chance. They didn't have to be proactive about saying it. They could be passive. But when the chance arose, anyone who knew Oryo's intentions could potentially become the one to execute her orders. Therefore, Oryo would never know who actually executed her order. And none of the relatives knew it either. I see. So basically everybody is X. This passive support system was thoroughly effective and spread all over the village. Its ties became even tighter after the dam conflict. Anyone could be the one to execute Oryo's orders. Therefore, everyone supported each other. If someone did something, the others would try to satisfy Oryo's expectations in different ways. For example, they'd come up with false evidence or otherwise passively interfere with an investigation. Even if they didn't know exactly who they were protecting, they'd still work together to protect whoever it was. I had finally figured out how it all worked. Phrased in a more organized manner, it was go as follows. The system of killing 2 people who are unwanted by the village each year required 3 elements. The first was a region of solidarity. It was created during the long and unique history of Hinamizawa. The villagers' bonds became even tighter during the dam conflict. That was one of the conditions for this place to have a curse. It was an element that was already in the region, not that one that could be created. The next element was having the same moral standards. This was a very important element, as the curse wouldn't have happened without it. Also, this element was created by Oryo Sonozaki herself, and that was why she could claim that this system was established by her own will. Having the same moral standards means that everyone everywhere acknowledges the same enemy. Even when everyone in the village joined together, it would be meaningless if they didn't all know exactly who the enemy was. During the dam conflict, Oryo Sonozaki made the identity of the enemy very clear to everyone. They couldn't just say they were against the dam construction and the government was their enemy. That wasn't clear enough. The government didn't really pinpoint who the enemy was, but Oryo made enemies out of the construction site itself and therefore its manager. She chose targets that the villagers could see with their own eyes. They were clear and easy to understand. The villagers acknowledged that everyone at the dam construction site was their enemy, and the construction site manager was the enemy commander. Using the same method, she labeled one after another as an enemy of the village, practically cataloging a list of enemies to print into the villagers' minds. Earlier, I had used the term infecting for this phenomenon. Those infected by this idea were the people unconsciously giving the orders to commit murder. When the infection spread across the village, when all of Hinamizawa's residents acknowledged the same enemy, that's when Hinamizawa itself became a murderer. Oryo combined those two elements, a solidary region and having the same moral standards, then selected the enemy and spread that notion throughout the village. The law would normally have punished both the one who committed the crime and the one who gave the order, but Oryo's system didn't require an order at all. Oryo just had to become concerned about the enemy she had pre-selected, but that alone wouldn't cause the curse to take place. Oryo's concern was like a safety device, and even when the safety device was off, the curse wouldn't occur unless there was a finger to pull the trigger. The last necessary element was to set a date for the execution, the night of the Watanagashi, the night to venerate Oyashiro-sama, the guardian deity of Hinamizawa. On that night, the curse of Oyashiro-sama falls upon two enemies of the village and they disappear. Everyone in the village acknowledges that as fact. In other words, if the same incident took place on any other than 364 nights of the year, it would be nothing other than a murder case. But if it happened on the night of the Watanagashi, then it would transform into the curse of Oyashiro-sama. The idea that villagers are allowed to kill their enemies on the night of Watanagashi had infected them. The villagers were the cells of this huge creature called Hinamizawa, and each cell would be taught who the enemy was. The set date was basically a green light for whoever was in the best to kill the enemy. That was the truth of the curse of Oyashiro-sama. Therefore, the one who actually killed Satoshi isn't my enemy. The one who set up this murderous system and the one who names Satoshi's family as the enemy is my enemy. To use a broader definition, Hinamizawa itself and the very system of Oyashiro-sama's curse is my enemy. I already killed the hag, the one who designed the system. Kimiyoshi, the one whose job it was to infect the villagers with the system, was already in my hands. I just had to find out who else was involved and how much. It was like pulling a weed while being very careful not to break its roots. I had announced that Keiichi Maibara was one of the people that snuck into the storage. I was certain the fact had already spread throughout the underside of the village. In other words, Keiichi Maibara was an object of the curse of Oyashiro-sama now. Takano and Tomatake were found dead, having been killed in gruesome ways. That was the curse. In that case, they could demon away 2 more people as sacrifices to calm the anger of Oyashiro-sama. The set date for the curse was already over. But, just like what happened to Satoshi, demoning away was allowed a little extra time. Something would happen to Keiichi within a few days. I'd wait patiently, careful not to let my enemies slip. Simply take Keiichi my bait. Keiji had been yelling at the other end of the phone for some time. He kept yelling that he didn't want to go into the ritual storehouse to begin with. He claimed he was simply invited by Takano. He shouldn't be in danger because of that, he said. He was feeling a sense of crisis and tension. This was going to work. The livelier the bait, the easier it is to spot. Why the hell did you do that? I didn't have anything to do with this. What will you do? What are you going to do, damn it? How are you going to take responsibility for this, huh? Hey, are you listening? Shut up. I've already heard of enough of your pitiful tears. I hung up the phone. There was no point in talking to him when he got like that. Besides, I'd already achieved my goal, which was to make him realize the danger awaiting him. I took a deep breath, then called the house of the village chief. Hello, Kimiyoshi residence. This is Sonozaki. So, did you find the mayor? Oh, it's you, Mion-chan. We've been calling everyone, but no luck. We can't find him. I don't know who else to call. I wonder where he is. We've called a few places too, but nothing. I talked to Granny, and she says we should have the youth group look for him. At this time of day? Besides, we aren't even sure if he's really missing. It's right after Nagashi. She just thinks we should be cautious. If the youth group can't find him, we should call the police first thing in the morning. We'd rather not get the police involved unless we really have to, though. Did Oyo say that? Yes. If you don't believe me, I'll have her get on the phone. Oh, no. I understand. Okay. We'll gather the youth group and look for him. If they can't find him, we'll call the police in the morning. Please call the leader of the youth group, then. I'll be right over in Granny's place. Thank you. I'll get everyone together right away. Okay. See you later. The youth group had gathered at the Furude Shrine. They were going to try to find the mayor. I also had to go, in absence of the hag. Just to be mean, I stopped by the underground torture room to let the mayor know I was headed to the Furude Shrine to search for him. Incidentally, according to the tab on the keychain, this underground torture room was actually called the Underground Storehouse for Ritual Implements. This was the man who was yelling that whoever trespasses on the ritual storehouse should be killed. Although it was an underground ritual storehouse, he was there now, atoning for what he had done. It was pretty ironic. Maybe I was the only one who felt that way, though. How are you doing, Uncle Kimiyoshi? Kimiyoshi didn't say a word, but he made a noise with the chain. Everyone's making such a fuss because they can't find you. Your family called me, so I suggested they started to gather a youth group to look for you. I'm heading over there now. Was this mean or what? Kimiyoshi could only make a noise with the chain. He couldn't even express any other emotion other than anguish. Is the chain too short? Why don't I make it longer every time you give me an answer to a question? If it's even a little longer, you'll feel better. Kimiyoshi's hands were tied behind his back with a tight wire. He was wearing a leather collar with a chain, which was strapped tightly around his neck. The collar's chain was on a pulley attached to the ceiling, with the chain pulling him up towards it. The chain was very short and pulled very tight. Kimiyoshi had to stand on tiptoes to be able to breathe. He had been like that for almost an hour already. He was already exhausted. If I left him overnight, he'd probably end up hanging himself. You told me earlier that you didn't know, but I'll ask you one more time. Please tell me anything you know about Satoshi Hojo. I'm sorry. You can't even talk, can you? I'll loosen the chain a little while we chat then. I turned the pulley just a little to loosen the chain that was pulling on Kimiyoshi's neck. Kimiyoshi's heels finally touched the ground, relieving the pressure on his muscles. I really don't know, Shion. I really don't. Don't you even know if he's dead or alive? I really don't know anything. Oh, well, I guess that's how the curse system of Hinamizawa works. It's possible you really don't know anything. Okay. I'll change the question then. As the head of the Kimiyoshi family, I would like you to tell me what you think has happened to Satoshi. Is he dead or alive? Kimiyoshi didn't know what to say. If he said he didn't know, I'd tighten the chain and leave the room. That would be like a death sentence for him. But all I said is I wanted him to speak as the head of the Kimiyoshi family. I didn't ask him to tell the truth, but he didn't know what to say to avoid souring my mood and to get me to loosen the chains around him. He was obviously trying to figure out how to make me extend the chain. I've heard a rumor he might be alive. Oh, about him going to Tokyo on a bullet train, right? The police have seen him in Tokyo or something like that. Oishi had told me that Satoshi had been witnessed getting on a bullet train heading to Tokyo at Nagoya Station. But the police didn't know if that really happened or what became of Satoshi after. Therefore, this was a random assertion of Kimiyoshi's. Hey, head of the Kimiyoshi family, what would be the point in letting one of the cursed family members live after going through the trouble of making him disappear? I don't think there's any reason for that. Besides, who gave you this information? I was in close contact with Oishi, but he never mentioned it to me. Uncle? If you're just saying that to make me happy, it's not going to work. You know that, don't you? I reached for the pulley controlling the chains around Kimiyoshi, and that act alone sent him panicked as he feared them tightening once more. Sorry. I'm not trying to make you angry, Shion-chan. I'm sorry. I don't have time for this. I'm simply asking you to help me look for Satoshi, that's all. I know that. I'll answer you. I took my hand off the pulley. Seeing that, Kimiyoshi began making loud groaning noises to try and show he was thinking hard. Be frank with me. Do you think he is alive or dead? I think... You shouldn't think he is alive. That figures. There's no point in letting him live, right? I agree with you. I really didn't mean anything too deep by it, but what I said truly scared Kimiyoshi. The police think he ran using money he saved to buy Satoko's birthday present, because he was the main suspect of his aunt's murder. What do you think about that? Well, I heard the culprit was some kind of drug addict. What do you think about that? Maybe I shouldn't say this, but I believe Satoshi's the culprit. The drug addict was probably just a decoy the hag arranged. I've suspected as much. That guy appeared out of nowhere. I didn't understand it at the time. So he was a decoy. I'm pretty sure. Why do you think that, though? The police were investigating the case, and Satoshi was their primary suspect, wasn't he? If he was going to be demoned away, she didn't want the police to continue the investigation, I guess. What Kimiyoshi just said is very interesting. He's perfectly correct. If the police continued their investigation, it would complicate things for whoever demoned away Satoshi. Therefore, the hag came up with a decoy in order to bring an end to the investigation. But fabricating a suspect can't be that easy, don't you agree? The only person I could think do things like that is Oyo-san. I knew the hag was very powerful in the underside of Hinamizawa, but I never knew she was that powerful. I'm sure you've heard quite a few rumors during the dam conflict. Didn't you also hear things directly? During the dam protests, I actually saw them issuing orders to my relatives. Like, destroy their heavy machinery. Or can we set up a checkpoint to blockade their construction vehicles? They set free their comrades from the police by coming up with alibis, destroying or forging evidence. I had seen relatives do those things, as well as the hag calling in counselors to house to protest. As a child, I was pretty impressed. But when I thought back, it was more than that. She was truly the mastermind who controlled the underside of the world. You've heard about the kidnapping case of the grandson of the minister, right? So it really was a kidnapping. I heard the grandson was demoned away and found in the middle of the mountains in Takasudo, Yagochi. That was Oyo's command. The minister promised to stop the dam construction, and the grandson was released. All the people and the ex-guardians know that. I guess I was right in the middle of it when it was happening, but I didn't notice. The hag, the three families, and the ex-guardians are truly magnificent, huh? How terrifying. Kimiyoshi finally realized the situation he was in, and answering my questions, they made me happy, but the more Kimiyoshi told me the truth, the more I realized Satoshi was dead. That made me so sad. Who actually demoned away Satoshi? I don't know. We would never ask who actually executed her orders. He was right. That was how the system worked. And so that was a bad question. Whoever it was did a great job because his body hasn't been found. That's not easy. Putting aside who actually killed him, it is possible Oyo has helped to get rid of the body. You knew about the well farther down here. The one used to dump the bodies, don't you? Yeah, I do. It's a lot safer to dump a body in the well than bury it somewhere in the mountains. Whoever disappears becomes a sacrifice to calm the anger of Oyashiro-sama. That was the rule of this game. Therefore, the mystery. So I'm in book 1 of the answer arcs right now. So basically this girl is insane. She's crazy. But it's fun. It's fun to act it. Mion started to sob. You weren't there when Satoshi was killed, were you? No. If you were there, would you have begged the hag to forgive him? Yes. I would have begged her to let him live. Liar. Huh? You liar! On that day, a year ago, I had just recalled how cruel Mion was then, when she forced me to rip out my nails acting in her role of the successor. Even if she was there when Satoshi was killed, she would have stopped being the successor. Satoshi was brought to the torture room. When he saw Mion, I'm sure he thought she would save him. Even as he heard the family had read out his death sentence, I'm sure he looked at Mion and believed that she would save him. He believed Mion was acting that way only because she was with her relatives. He believed she would help him, but she didn't do anything. He was strapped to a restraining device, yet she still wouldn't do anything. Mion was cruel. Mion, isn't it about time to help me? I get it. You're with the rest of the family members, so you can't even show a hint of compassion. Sucks. Help him! Help him! Why? Why didn't you help him? So I have to back up a little bit. You saw him looking at you, begging him to help you, didn't you? Why didn't you help him? Even when he was going through a rough time because of his awful aunt, you didn't help him. You pretended to sympathize, but you didn't help him. You ignored him. He was cornered because you didn't help him. I tried to support him. Even when you didn't protect him from killing his aunt, I did. I sacrificed myself to fight for him. 3 nails were nothing. But it wasn't enough to rescue Satoshi. I couldn't help him. Do you know why? Because I was Shion. As Shion, I was kept away from Hinamizawa, and nobody told me anything. I couldn't know anything. But you were different. You were Mion. You were right in the middle of everything, and you knew everything, and everyone told you everything. If I were you, I could have helped Satoshi. I would have, but you were Mion. Give it back. That name isn't just yours, it's mine. Besides, it was mine to begin with, remember? I just let you be Mion, remember? It was mine. Give it back. Give me my name. I can't stand that you even look like Mion. If I were Mion, then... I kicked the bars. I kicked them again and again. Mion curled up fearfully in the back of the cell, as if she were trying to prevent the bars from crashing down onto her. So that explains the, so we got a, I forget what it was, we got a tip that said that Shion was actually the first one that came out, or Shion was the first one that came out, so that makes a lot of sense now. So at some point, they've been talking about how they're Mion and Shion, but they would like share names. At some point, probably when they were very young, the Mion decided she didn't want to be the successor, and then they like switched. But they probably switched so much that they didn't even know who was who at some point. So like this one, the one that we're getting the point of view from, is actually the first one that came out, the one that, you know, is supposed to be the successor, I think.